Hello all my dear student friends. We are studying the various psychrometric processes. We have studied the sensible cooling process, and now let us go ahead to study the further processes. So now let us study the sensible heating process. So the sensible heating process is represented on the psychrometric chart like this, and it is represented by this horizontal line along with the arrow. This horizontal line OB represent the sensible heating process on the psychrometric chart. This is the psychrometric chart. Here the dBT dry bulb temperature, here the specific humidity is plotted on the horizontal and vertical axis. This is the saturation curve, and this is the increase in the enthalpy due to sensible heating process OB. Okay, so in sensible heating process, the temperature of the air is increased without changing its moisture content. So the dry bulb temperature is increased here like this, and the specific humidity or the moisture content remains constant because it is a horizontal line. Okay, and it is pointing in the right direction. It means the dry bulb temperature is increased. During this process, the sensible heat, dry bulb temperature and wet bulb temperature of the air increases, while the latent heat of air and the dew point temperature of the air remains constant. Latent heat is remaining constant because only sensible heat is added, right? Because there is no increase in the specific humidity. Remember, in psychrometry, the latent heat changes only if the specific humidity changes, right? So specific humidity is the real measure of the moisture content. I am not talking about relative humidity. Relative humidity may change because it is relative. It is referred with the temperature, but the specific humidity gives the actual moisture content, right? And therefore the latent heat is increased or decreased only when the specific humidity is increased or decreased, right? So here during the sensible heating process, dry bulb temperature is increased, wet bulb temperature is increased, but the latent heat is not increased. Latent heat remain constant. The dew point temperature of the air also remains constant because the horizontal line represent the constant dew point temperature also. Like the sensible cooling, the sensible heating process is also represented by a straight horizontal line with arrow pointing right on the psychrometric chart. Arrow is pointing in the right direction. It is a straight horizontal line. Okay. So this is how the sensible heating process is represented on the psychrometric chart. You must draw this chart, this diagram. The sensible heating line is also the constant dew point temperature line. Okay. So this is also the constant dew point temperature line. The sensible cooling line is also constant dew point temperature line, right? Now the sensible heating process is represented by this line OB or the arrow OB. During this process, the moisture content of the air remains constant and its temperature increases as it flows over a heating coil, right? So the air will flow over a heating coil. The heating coil may be the uh, electric resistance coil or some coil through which hot water is flowing. Okay, and the air comes in contact with this heating coil, and due to that the temperature of the air, the dry bulb temperature of the air increases without any increase in the specific humidity, right? Now let us study one more process, that is cooling and humidification process. Cooling and humidification. So this is the psychrometric chart. Okay, so here this arrow represent, this arrow which is pointing in the left and the upward direction represent cooling and humidification, right? So this is the initial point, this is the final point, right? And here this air comes in contact with the cooling coil as well as the cold water is sprayed. Instead of cooling coil, we can just spray the cold water, and the spray of the cold water comes in contact with the air which is flowing and which is required to be cooled and humidified, right? So the stream of air is flowing like this from left to right, and it comes in contact with the spray of cooling water. So we are studying the process cooling and humidification. This process say OE is the process. During this process, the air temperature drops and its humidity increases. The dry bulb temperature decreases and the specific humidity increases. This can be achieved by spraying cool water in the air stream. Cold water can be sprayed in the air stream. Okay, so due to that, the humidity is also increased, and at the same time, the dry bulb temperature is also decreased. The temperature of water should be lower than the dry bulb temperature. Of course, the temperature of this water should be lower than the dry bulb temperature of the air. Then only cooling will take place, but higher than its dew point temperature to avoid condensation. The temperature of this cooling water must be higher than the dew point temperature. If the temperature of this water is lower than the dew point temperature, then air will be cooled below dew point temperature, and this will lead to condensation of the moisture, and that will lead to dehumidification. But we are not going for dehumidification here, we want humidification. So we must take care that though the temperature of this cooling water should be less than the dry bulb temperature, but it should be more than the dew point temperature of the air to avoid condensation. So this temperature of this cooling water should be more than the dry bulb temperature, but it should be less than the dew point temperature. dPT, this should be dPT. Okay, so it can be seen that during this process, I can correct this dPT. This is nothing but dPT. Okay, so this correction is made, and then I will go back. So it can be seen that during this process there is sensible heat transfer from air to water. Sensible heat transfer takes place from air to water. Okay, so the water will remove the sensible heat from the air, therefore cooling takes place. The dry bulb temperature of the air is reduced, cooling of the air takes place. Okay, and latent heat transfer from water to air. So latent heat transfer takes place from water to air. Okay, and therefore humidification of the air takes place. Humidification of the air takes place. Hence the total heat transfer depends upon the water temperature. Exact water temperature will decide the total heat transfer. This process is encountered in devices such as evaporative coolers, cooling towers. So this process is very common. So many evaporator coolers are used. Nowadays we are going for air conditioners, but evaporative coolers are cheap as compared to air conditioners, and in the dry areas such evaporative coolers are effective. So this process is very common in such areas like Rajasthan. So we can use the evaporative coolers, right, where the environment is very dry, where the humidity is less, right. Now next process is cooling and dehumidification. Cooling and dehumidification. So it is represented like this by this process, by this line OC with the arrow pointing from O to C, right. So when moist air is cooled below its dew point temperature, by bringing it in contact with cold surface as shown in figure. So we have a cold surface, some cooling coil we are having. So the air is flowing in like this, and it comes in contact, it is brought in contact with some cooling coil, cold surface. So due to that, the dry bulb temperature will be reduced, right, and the humidity is also reduced because the cooling is below dew point temperature. Cooling is below dew point temperature. Okay, so some of the water vapor in the air condenses and leaves the air stream as liquid. As a result, both the temperature and humidity ratio of the air decreases as shown. So this is the process air undergoes in a typical air conditioning system. Although the actual process path will vary, depend upon the type of the cold surface, the surface temperature, and flow conditions. For simplicity, the process line is assumed to be a straight line. The process line may not be exactly a straight line, but for simplicity it is assumed to be a straight line. Okay, so this exact process along which the exact curve or the steps along which this process may take place depends upon the temperature of this cooling surface and some other factors, right? During the cooling and dehumidification process, the dry bulb, wet bulb and dew point temperature of the air reduces. Okay, so during this process, dry bulb temperature is reduced, wet bulb temperature is reduced, dew point temperature is also reduced. Okay, similarly, the sensible heat and latent heat of the air also reduce, leading to overall reduction in the enthalpy of the air. So everything is reduced. Sensible heat is also reduced, latent heat is also reduced, and thus the overall enthalpy will also be reduced. So values of almost all the properties are reduced during this process, that is cooling and dehumidification, right? So here it is very clear that cooling means reduction in the dry bulb temperature, dehumidification means reduction in the specific humidity omega, right? But here we can see that all the properties are reduced, enthalpy is reduced, enthalpy means latent enthalpy is reduced, sensible enthalpy is reduced, then the dew point temperature is reduced, then the wet bulb temperature is also reduced. Okay, so all these values are reduced during this process, that is cooling and dehumidification. Now this is, I think, the last process, not last but one process, heating and humidification. So during this process, during winter, it is essential to heat and humidify the room air for comfort. Okay, so in winter season we have to heat the air and we have to humidify the air because the air becomes very dry. So this is normally done by first sensibly heating the air and then adding water vapor to the air stream through steam nozzles. So first of all sensible heating is done and then water vapor is added through steam nozzles. Okay, so see, we are using the steam is injected in the stream of the air, right? So this is the stream of the air flowing through this duct. Okay, so this is the heating coil, maybe some electric resistance coil or the coil through which hot water is flowing or steam is flowing, right? And then when the temperature increases, dry bulb temperature increases, the capacity to hold moisture increases, and now when steam is injected you will find that the humidity will be increased. The capacity of the air first of all to hold moisture will be increased, and then it can accommodate the moisture so that the specific humidity is increased, right? And humidification takes place. So the heated and humidified air will leave from this duct like this, right? So this process is shown by this arrow which is pointing towards right and the upward direction. So that is heating and humidification. The dry bulb temperature is increased, then the specific humidity is also increased, then the wet bulb temperature is increased, dew point temperature is increased, the enthalpy is increased, the specific enthalpy is increased, the latent enthalpy is also increased. Since it is heating and humidification, almost all these properties are increased during this process, that is heating and humidification process. Next one is chemical dehumidification process. Means this is the heating and dehumidification process, heating and dehumidification using some chemical, right? So the chemical may be some hygroscopic material which will absorb the moisture from the air. Okay, so heating and dehumidification process, OF, is shown here on the psychrometric chart, and here this air is flowing through this duct, the air stream comes in contact with some hygroscopic material and that leads to heating and dehumidification of the air. So this process can be achieved by using some hygroscopic material which absorbs or adsorbs the water vapor from the moisture. water vapor from the moist air. Instead of writing here moist air, it should be moisture, it should be moist air. Okay, so let me just change. Moist air, right? Okay. So this hygroscopic material will absorb or adsorb the water vapor from the moist air or the air stream which is flowing from left to right. If this process is thermally isolated, then the enthalpy of the air remains constant. So if the process is thermally isolated, that means there is no heat transfer from external side, then this will be a constant enthalpy line. There will be no change in the total enthalpy, right? So we can see here that the latent enthalpy decreases and the sensible enthalpy increases. But if there is a thermal isolation, the total overall enthalpy will remain constant. Though the latent enthalpy decreases and sensible enthalpy increases, but the increase in sensible enthalpy will be equal to the decrease in latent enthalpy. So the overall enthalpy may remain same if the process is thermally isolated, and this process line can be perpendicular to this enthalpy scale here like this. Okay, and the temperature of the air increases as its moisture content decreases. The dry bulb temperature increases, moisture content decreases. As shown, this hygroscopic material can be solid or liquid. We can use any hygroscopic material, either solid or liquid. Okay. Now in general, the absorption of water by the hygroscopic material is an exothermic reaction. Now why the temperature increases, dry bulb temperature increases? The reason is that the absorption process by the hygroscopic material, absorption of moisture or water by the hygroscopic material is an exothermic reaction. So during the exothermic reaction, heat is released. So then hence heat is released during this process, and which is this heat release is transferred to the air, and thus the enthalpy of the air increases, or we can say the dry bulb temperature of the air increases due to the heat absorbed by the which is released during the exothermic reaction, exothermic process. Okay, so this was about the heating and dehumidification. Okay, finally let us study the mixing of air streams. Okay, so this is also one important process. We can mix two air streams. So you can see here that air is entering, one stream of air is entering through this duct, another stream of air is entering through this duct, and in this duct the mixing takes place. Okay, so the properties of the moist air after mixing will be different from these two streams, right? So this is the 1, 2 and 3. So the properties at 3 will be different from 1 as well as 2. Okay, so this mixing takes place without condensation. Okay, we are going to study that case when condensation is not taking place. So this figure shows an adiabatic mixing of two moist air streams. There is only mixing. Okay, there is no external heat transfer. So it is adiabatic mixing of two moist air streams during which no condensation of moisture takes place. There is no condensation of the moisture present in the air. Okay, so as shown, when two air streams at state point 1 and 2 mix. Okay, so the state point of this air stream is say 1, the state point of this air stream is say 2, and they are mixing here in this duct, and the final state point is say 3. The resulting mixture condition 3 can be obtained from mass and energy balance. So we have to use the mass balance equation and we have to use the energy balance equation. So first mass balance equation is nothing but this mass of air of the stream 1 plus mass of air of the stream 2 is equal to the mass of the air of the stream 3. So this is a very simple mass balance equation, So we can very easily understand this equation that the mass of the air, total mass, will be equal to the sum of the individual masses, right? So that can be understood very easily. So this point 3 indicate the condition of the mixture, point 1 indicate the condition of the first stream, point 2 indicate the condition of the second stream, and point 3 is nothing but the condition of the mixture, right? So what are these equations? Mass balance. So from the mass balance of dry air and water vapor, we can get this equation, that is mass of air for stream 1 and specific humidity, omega 1 is the specific humidity of stream 1, plus mass into specific humidity of stream 2, and that will be equal to the mass multiplied by specific humidity of the mixture, right? So this equation is applicable, or we can just Ma3, we have seen that that is equal to Ma1 plus Ma2. Okay, so this Ma3 is the total mass, which is the sum of the individual masses, right? And this omega 3 is the specific humidity of the mixture. Now from energy balance we can write here that mass of air of the first stream multiplied by enthalpy of the first stream plus mass of air of the second stream multiplied by enthalpy of the second stream is equal to mass of the mixture multiplied by enthalpy of the mixture, right? So this equation can be written, that is the energy balance. Okay, now this Ma3, you know that that is equal to Ma1 plus Ma2, and that is ultimately multiplied by H3, which is the enthalpy of the mixture, right? Now roughly we can say that this point 3 will lie on the line joining point 1 and 3, roughly, approximately. Okay, but exact location of this point 3 between 1 and 2, it depends upon the other factors like the mass of air in the stream 1, mass of air in the stream 2, and the other properties, specific humidity and the enthalpy of the air in the stream 1 as well as the stream 2. Okay, so this is how the mixing takes place, right? And by mixing we can obtain the required condition of the air by just controlling the mass of these two streams. Okay, if you just control the quantity of the air coming from these two streams, then we can just control the point 3 also, the conditions of the air at the point 3 up to some extent. Okay, so the final enthalpy and humidity ratio of mixture are weighted averages of inlet enthalpies and humidity ratio. So these equations tell us that the mass and humidity ratio of the mixture are weighted averages of the inlet enthalpies and humidity ratios. We get the weighted average. Now final temperature of the mixture is approximately equal to the weighted average of the inlet temperatures. So for finding the temperature, we also have the weighted average, not the ordinary average. We have to take the weighted average because it depends upon the masses of the air in the stream 1 and stream 2, right? So with this approximation, the point on the psychrometric chart representing the mixture lies on a straight line connecting two inlet states. So this point 3 will lie on this line joining 1 and 2 approximately. Okay, if we consider this approximation, what is that approximation? Final temperature of the mixture is approximately equal to the weighted average of the inlet temperatures, right? If that approximation is considered, then this point 3 is lying on the line joining 1 and 2. Okay, so hence the ratio of the distances on the line is given like this: 1 3, distance 1 3 upon distance 2 3 is equal to the ratio of the flow rates Ma2 divided by Ma1. Okay, so these distances depends upon the masses. Okay, distance between point 1 and 3 and distance between point 2 and 3 depends upon the mass of the air in the stream 2 and the mass of the air in the stream 1, and approximately we can write this equation, okay, which equates the ratio of the distances to the ratio of the masses, right? So that is about all the psychrometric processes. Thank you, my dear friends.